Good day, Cambridge Springs. This is Mrs. Walsh bringing you today's virtual art lesson. We are going to be making a couple of different snowflake / paper sculptures. I thought it might be interesting and fun to make some different decorations that you could use for Christmas around your house if you would like to, but they are never going to be limited to just Christmas time because most of them look like some sort of a snowflake, so they could stay out past the holiday season and still celebrate that beautiful snow that's falling outside as well. So if you haven't already watched the video, I need you to watch the video on how to take a rectangular piece of paper and turn it into a square. I have a square here on the screen. I changed it into a square from a rectangular piece of drawing paper, and there was a video provided showing you how to do this. Now, the trick to this snowflake is that you need to have, I believe, 6 of these. So you need to do this, but you need to do it 6 times in order to make this paper sculpture. And the way that it's done is really simply. Each piece is going to be handled the same way, and then you are going to connect them together. Now, materials that you can use to connect these as you are working, a glue stick will work just fine, but I would be really, really aware that it's gonna work better if you do what I've always said you need to do with glue stick, and that is attach glue to glue, not glue piece of paper to a dry piece of paper. Glue stick works best when you are attaching a glue surface to a glue surface, so you want to be putting glue on both pieces you're attaching, not just one. Otherwise, you run the risk of everything falling back apart. If you don't have glue stick or you don't want to use glue stick, you are perfectly able to use tape to complete this snowflake as well. Any transparent tape, even masking tape if you have it, would be fine because it's going to be hidden most of it when you get done with the snowflake anyway. If you do or do not have either of those, it is perfectly acceptable to finish this using a stapler as well. I have the smaller staplers that are easy to get into tight spaces, but I'm going to do it using this stapler so that you see that even a big kind of unruly size stapler will still work to create this project. So either of those 3, you do not need all 3, you only need one of those, so whichever you have will work fine. Each piece of paper, after you've turned it into a square, needs to get treated the same way. In a diamond shape, you're going to roll the point of one side up to the point of the opposite side and crease your paper down with a nice sharp crease. Then you have a long side of the triangle and 2 equal sides above it. You want to take the bottom point across to the opposite bottom point on the side that is the longest. Crease this down a second time. And because this crease is 4 layers of paper, you're really going to need a little bit of strength in your thumb to get that crease down. Now, it is important you line this piece of paper up so that the longest side of the triangle is, if you are right-handed using right-hand scissors, you're going to need that to be facing your right-hand palm. If you are left-handed, I would hold it like that if you're cutting with left-handed scissors. I'm going to hold it so that the long side of the triangle is towards my right hand. I'm going to pick up my scissors in my right hand, and I'm going to cut about a finger width from the long edge in a straight line up, and I'm going to stop cutting about 1 finger width in from the top. It looks like this. Cut straight with the edge. When you get up to the top, stop when your tip of your scissors is about a finger width from that top. Then you're going to do that 2 more times for a total of 3 cuts. Finger width in from that, cut up. When you get a finger width from the top, stop. And the 3rd one, cut straight up, stop. So now you have long triangle, 1, 2, 3 cuts. To open this up, I take the 2 points at the top and I gently open this up, give it a little press down. And then the easy way to get all these layers apart is to go to the crease, open the paper up, place your fingers inside and kind of walk up the center of the paper like a little spider, and it will gently pull these layers apart. You may have to help it a little bit once in a while. And that is what your project looks like when you get it back open. Now from here, Inside the very smallest area that you cut looks like a square. Take your paper, flip it over backwards. Take the two outside points of the square that are not connected to the paper, because these two are. Roll it backwards and line up the crease so that you make this tube. If you're familiar with a cannoli, it looks a little bit like a cannoli tube. I am going to use tape for this. I'm going to peel off skinny pieces of tape and connect so that stays in a tube. Then, flip the tube upside down, take the next 2 points of the squares that are free, overlap them. I like to use the creases to help me keep it straight. So it looks like this perfect crisscross when you get those points lined up and the creases lined up. And then I use 2 very, very thin pieces of tape to connect and hold that. If you're using a glue stick, I would put glue under one side, over the other side, and then press and hold it until when your hands come free, it's definitely gonna hold. If I was using the stapler, I would take the opening of the stapler, slide it up in, and place a staple right over top of the crisscross. Any of those methods is going to hold. Now, this is a pattern because you're gonna flip it over, and you're gonna do that same thing to the next 2 points. Line up the crease, line up the corners, so your edges look like a continuous X. Little piece of tape, Mrs. Walsh, that's pretty big. But if my tape goes over, I can just bend it over the sides and hide that little error on Mrs. Walsh's part. Get both edges sealed down. And then you have one last set. Flip it over, bend back, line up your corners, line up your crease. Make it into a crisscross. Don't tear your tape so thick, Mrs. Walsh. And connect. Now, all 6 square pieces of paper need to turn into this. Once you have all 6 done, because of course I already have all of mine done, you take 2 at a time, and I like to place them, see how these are both bending the same way? I like to place them opposite so that the creases, you can tell this crease is going down, down into the paper, and this one's going down into the paper. I don't want to flip-flop these and make them stack one on top of each other like dishes. I want them to be bending in opposite directions. I'm going to take those 2 points, line them up together like so. And this is where I take my stapler and I connect those 2 points with a staple. You might want to do 2, one a little bit closer to the edge for stability. Then I have another trick. If you look at where these are crashing into each other, go to your tubes and go to that first crisscross that's pushing against each other. I like to line those crisscrosses up with one another. I don't know if you can see that. So I line the crisscrosses up, excuse me. I'm gonna take my stapler and wiggle it in there, and I'm gonna put a little staple in there for stability too. So I have attached the points here, and then I found where this first crisscross that crashes into each other meets at the crisscross, and I put a staple in there. So I have attached these 2. I have already done another set, and then the last set is also complete. It's hard to see with this camera, but your last job is to slowly work through attaching all of these into a radial snowflake. So there is 4 of them attached. I'm also gonna find that crisscross that I like for stability. And I'm also, once I get those lined up a little better, going to staple there. You could glue it, you could tape it. It helps sometimes to get an adult or even your brother or sister to help you out to get these lined up. Last but not least, this last one's gonna go in. And as you can see, once you get this done, it's pretty good size for the camera. But it's a big, beautiful looking three-dimensional sculpture of a snowflake that you could tie a little bit of string to and hang around your house for a beautiful, lovely holiday decoration. I hope you enjoy this paper sculpture. Return tomorrow. I'll have a new one for you. Have a great day.